Can you tell me a bit about your story as musicians and a couple?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I've been a musician good part of my life and a live performer, if you will. I originally hailed from the east end of Long Island, and so I would play every night of the week from Montauk to Manhattan. Right? That's just what I did. That's how I made my money. And at one point, somebody offered to sponsor a record for me, so we recorded a record, and it was a very heartfelt record that I made. It was some deep music, and you can hear it out there. It's called "Walk with Me." It's a really beautiful album.
Beautiful.
Recorded it with Ben Wish, who recorded "Walking in Memphis." Remember that song, "Walking in Memphis"? And they called me up to their office and they said, "This album's great. We love it, but we want you to write country music." So right from there, I went on a mission. I moved to South Carolina to become immersed in a culture of country music. That's what I did. And I moved to the Columbia area. Then I found myself in Myrtle Beach, living in a resort, playing at a resort. And then Jacob was his name?
Mhm.
Jacob Brown?
Jacob Brown.
Jacob Brown
Hi, Jacob.
approached me, and I think he played with Marshall Tucker, or his father
His dad
played
did.
with Marshall Tucker. And he literally said, "You belong in Lake Norman." And sure enough, like within days, a friend of mine from New York said, "My brother just moved to Lake Norman and he had found you a gig." So I went to do the gig in Lake Norman. I ended up moving there and working like every night of the week in Lake Norman. And then I got called to do a party on the lake at the point. It's called the Point. And April was there,
Doing photography.
photography. And it was kind of funny. I asked if anybody had any requests, and she goes, "Yeah, can you play this song?" And I said, "No, I don't know that one. It's a great song, but I don't know how to play it." And I go, "Anybody else?" And she requested another
Wow.
song. I'm like, "I'm sorry, it's a great song, but I don't know that one. Anybody else?" And then she requested a third song. And I said, "No, I can't play it. Can you?" And she goes, "Yes, I can." And she got up and started playing the song. And it was funny. At the end of the party, the guy was paying me. He was like, he's paying me my money. And he turns to her and starts paying her the rest of the money. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "She deserves it. She was really good." And that's our first meeting. And then I'd say about a year later, I saw that on Facebook, that she was, it looked like she was no longer with the guy she was dating. And I had been single for about 6 months. So I started saying, "Hey, what's up?" And lightly stalking her, I guess. So, and we got together for dinner. And then at that point, I had to go record the fishing song record in Georgia with a guy named Billy Hume, great producer.
Grammy award-winning producer.
And
He's an amazing
I
talent.
said to April, I said, "I'm going to have to go away for the weekends for the next few weeks." And she goes, "Can I go with you?" I'm like, "I don't think that's a good idea."
And I'm like, well, you need to document. What if you do the
She goes,
making of?
"I'll just take pictures. I swear I'll be good.
I'll take videos, pictures.
So I took her, and Billy was working me really hard. I'm talking 12-hour days. Play that over again. Play it this way. Play it in this key. Harmonize it. And after a long day, I said, "I got to go outside and get some air." And as I'm walking out, I hear Billy go, "April, get in there. Let's see what you can do." And I texted Billy. I go, "What are you doing? What are you doing? I hardly know her. I don't know anything." And he goes, "Don't worry, Walter. I'll explain it later." And he called me and he said, we have so many famous people come to studios with their backup singers, and they're so hard to mix." He goes, "April is the most perfect voice for your voice." And that's how it all started. And then she started coming to my gigs, and one day she stood up and sang every song, every harmony note, perfect. And I think the next day there was 2 microphones at every gig, and it's going on 5 years now. We've had
Well, here's the thing. I grew up on a farm between Concord and Mount Pleasant, North Carolina, off of Highway 49. And growing up, my mom taught bluegrass rhythm guitar at Spirit Square in Charlotte, and my dad taught fiddle at Spirit Square in Charlotte. They used to call him the hard hat fiddler. And then through the years, we would tour. We had a tour bus, and we would go and tour, and we would play bluegrass gospel music. And so I could literally clog before I could walk. And so when he says he wants country, I don't know how you could get any more country than that. you know?
Right.
So we just
Talk
kinda-
about God blessing the broken road.
Yeah.
You know, the roads I
really.
traveled, I found out. I always wished I had somebody to sing harmonies with me. I mean, my whole life. Every time I saw a band I liked, they had great harmonies. And I remember saying, if you can have good harmonies, you can have good at it. And here it is. And we just kept at it. You know?
Now I have to ask, I noticed there's a song called April Dawn. I'm assuming
Mhm.
there's a story behind that.
I wrote that on the way to the studio with April Dawn in the car, and kind of I had written it. I had started writing it, and I had showed it to her over the phone. But my daughter Desiree called me up. And she said, "Dad, I haven't had a good song with a woman's name in it in a while. We need a good woman name in the song again." And the original lyrics I originally wrote were "My everything," and I was on the phone with her. I said, April Dawn fits right over that nicely. My April Dawn. And then I tailored the story around us meeting. So it was actually a true story in there of conversations we had. But April would never answer a question right away when I asked her a question. It was always this long story. And I'm like, can you just tell me the answer first and then the story later? But and she said,
It's a Southern thing.
yeah. And I quote, she goes, "I know. I take the long way around the barn. I know." And that's the line in the song. And we'll take the long way around the barn. Yeah. So it was just, that song was about our first couple of meetings hanging out together. It was fun.
I'm glad I asked. So
Yeah.
this is for both of you. I just want to know in general, what's your favorite part of what you get to do?
Well, want me to go first? I love creating the music, of course, and channeling what's inside of me and bringing it out into song. Basically, I'm just taking, my subconscious out into my conscious mind and writing it down, and I could analyze what's going on in my life. But the best part is performing. No matter what's going on in your life, whatever is going on, you could be in the worst pain. While you're performing, you feel nothing.
It's gone.
You feel free. It is the best feeling. And then, especially if you have an engaging audience and you can have a banter going on back and forth, that's the most wonderful feeling is performing.
I think for me, it's like what he said times 12, because you see it all the time. Life is going to happen, right? So, your dog got hit by a car, your ex-wife ran off with your dog in your pickup truck, whatever the case may be, your day's terrible. But you come to see a show with us and you know all of our songs, or you hear a new one, and just for that little bit of time, you forget your troubles. And when you get to give that to somebody, when you give them the peace of mind, or you hear someone say, "Hey, I was listening to your fishing song the other day on the river," you get to touch people's lives in a good way, because Walter and I feel the same way. We feel like as artists, we have a very special and very important duty to put music out, to make people want to live a good life, to make them want to live an honest life.
We have that purpose with our
Yeah.
music. What I came up with growing up, I realized that when you're young, you're very impressionable, or people can be moved by music. Do I really want to lead you down the wrong road, or do I want to show you the way to comfort you? Because music comforted me. When Jeff Beck died the other day, I realized as a young boy, I used to listen to his guitar, and I just took me away from all the growing pains of growing up. That's
And
performing live is everything.
And it's even in the Bible, God says, make a joyful noise. He doesn't care if anybody else likes it. He loves it.
There is one
so
other
you sing
thing
your
that's
song.
really cool, and it just happened, and I like it. And we went out to dinner. We were down in, where were we? Belmont?
Mhm.
We were in Belmont, and we stopped to get something to eat. And April starts talking to the waitress. They become best friends in like 3 seconds. So
She was adorable.
near the end of dinner, she goes, here's one of his songs called Walk With Me. And she's listening to it. She goes, "Oh my God, this is the song my cousin just danced to at her wedding." I go, "Are you serious?" She goes, "Yeah." And she's listening to it. "Yeah, we all danced to this song." That was great. That was the best feeling.
That has to be surreal.
You never know whose life you're going to be able to touch.